Welcome to the channel and welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's jump straight into it. Match day. Who's excited about the match tonight? I am very much looking forward to Bryan Mbeumo's debut. I don't know whether he's going to start. I hope he does. I hope we see the front three. Xerxes, Cunha, and Mbeumo, Ahmad wingback. I want to see how that develops, but either way, he's going to either start the game or he's going to get some minutes in the second half, isn't he? Because he needs to build up his fitness as well. With him just obviously coming to the club, I don't think he did much team training with Brentford before he signed neither as well. So going to be exciting to see. Big B up front tonight. So yeah, going to be really interesting. But give us your thoughts, give us your feelings on that in the comments below. So I'm going to kick off with some interesting comments from the press conference yesterday. I don't know whether you've seen some of these. I want to start firstly with Matheus Cunha. I really loved how he spoke. But one of the things that I picked up on that I really absolutely loved that he said was that the pressure of this club is not it is not really pressure. It's a privilege because it is one of the biggest clubs in the world. When Ruben comes to me and shows me all the pressure to put this club in perfect times again, I feel it's a challenge I want to do for my career. And I loved that from Matheus Cunha saying it's not a pressure to be at Manchester United. It's a privilege because far too long we've had, charlatans in the squad that are here for money, here for the wrong reasons. That's created the toxic environment behind the scenes. More and more being the club have allowed that to happen. They've allowed it to materialise and fester and grow. But I love that from Matheus Cunha saying, no, it's not pressure being at Manchester United. It's a privilege. And I do think from his interviews and stuff, he seems like he's got that really, really good mentality. And I think that's infectious as well, because if you're talking about removing the toxicity from around the place and replacing those bad apples with people like Matheus Cunha, Bryan Mbeumo wants to be here as well. Ruben Amorim did say that as one of the reasons why we want to sign why we sign these players is we want people to come to Manchester United and be here for the right reasons, because for far too long we've signed players that are interested in the paycheck, and then when the going gets tough, the tough piss off and and down tools and don't bother trying anymore. But these sort of characters and players is exactly what we need, and I'm excited to see how it all plays out and how it develops as well. And I do think it can have an impact behind the scenes as well, because that is so important. Like, how many games last season did we know straight away as soon as we conceded a goal, that would be it, heads down? Players would look disinterested because you haven't got that harmonious squad behind the scenes. And I think what Amorim and Matheus Cunha are kind of alluding to is that actually having that team ethic sometimes means that if you go 1-0 down, you don't give up and you carry on fighting. And that comes from characters like Matheus Cunha, in my opinion. So I love that from him in the press conference. But we need to obviously see that on the pitch now, don't we? But yeah, give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now let's go through some of Amorim's comments. So he said, right now, our club needs to be very careful when it comes to signing new players. If we have to begin the season with this group, I'm fine with that, because all the players here want to be part of this team, and that's the most important thing to me. So Ruben Amorim was asked, this is when he was asked specifically around targeting Premier League proven players, i.e. Matheus Cunha and Mbeumo, and I think he made a valid point. He said, right now, our club needs to be very careful when it comes to signing new players. And he kind of emphasised the fact that, we can't take the risks maybe on the younger players or the Benjamin Sesko's, as good a talent as or potential that he's got. What if it doesn't work out and then we've wasted a lot of our money and we're not in a position where we can waste money on signings like that anymore? So I really thought that was, clarifying the situation, I think, from Ruben Amorim saying, but then also fine with the group of players that we've got. And, I know some people will take that, we had our worst ever Premier League season last season. There's no sweeping that under the carpet, right? But the reality is we've either got a squad of really, really shit players, and that every single player in the United squad is totally shit, and they all need replacing, or, the other reality is that the players just didn't perform as well as they could do last season for whatever reason. Obviously, I think the start of the season, the Erik ten Hag situation, the sacking of Erik ten Hag, Amorim coming in mid-season, the stuff going on behind the scenes with obviously unhappy players and an unhappy dressing room and all the job losses and Ineos making all the changes and stuff. It would have been a distraction. It can't be a happy placement mentally. So either we've got a full squad of shit players or players just massively underperformed last season. Or both could be true, I suppose. But so either way, some of these players have to get back. There's a reason we have signed some of the players that we've got in the squad. So surely some of them are going to get a little bit better this season, or nowhere near as bad as what they were last season. But let's hope that's the case anyway. But I know you'll have mixed feelings on that in the comments. And then you also said new signings to come. We want players who have already proven themselves. This is an important moment for our club, so they must want to come. So this was an interview an MUTV did that was released this morning, saying that we want players who have already proven themselves. So we're going for experienced players, and they must want to come to the club as well. And we've seen, obviously, with the examples of Cunha and Mbumo refusing other clubs. Champions League clubs. Amorim did say that in the interview as well, saying they turned down big money or Champions League football to come here because they want to be here as well. And there's value to that, in my opinion. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments. One other thing that I picked up on, actually, that I found really interesting was Kobbie Mainoo's position and situations. So he said he can play both midfield positions. He played higher up last season. His best position is close to the ball. With the ball, he's a great talent. He needs to increase the tempo of his game. I tell him that all the time. And I have big plans for him as well. So Ruben Amorim was kind of confirming that Kobbie Mainoo is going to be used in one of the midfield 2 positions this season, not as a 10, not as an attacking midfielder. There might be moments or games where maybe he does play there, depending on, because we've got a bit of flexibility tactically to play a few players in different positions. But I'm happy with that as well. I think Kobbie Mainoo is best as either an 8 or maybe a 6 in the 3 at the back formation. I wouldn't want to see him as a 6 in a flat back 4. But when you're playing 3 defenders at the back, the whole purpose of that is so you don't necessarily need such a defensive midfielder. And I think you could do like a deep lying job potentially, or maybe more as a box to box number 8. And I like the fact that he said he has big plans for Kobbie Mainoo as well. So hopefully he's going to be one of my ones to watch, because he's been beasting himself in pre-season with Lenny Yoro. So hopefully we can see him back to his best this season as well. But that's one to pay attention to. So just a couple of points I picked up on the press conference. The more interesting one, though, was what he had to say regarding the exiled players. So he was asked directly, does it devalue these players? Basically, which is what we've been saying, that, the fact that these players aren't coming, does it devalue them? He said, some players have to move to make space in the team. Others want a new challenge. We are giving them time to think, and if they reach a point where they have to join the team, they will. So firstly, picked up on the fact that Amorim said, no, we're giving them time to basically find new clubs, and didn't confirm that he was looking to exile them. What I think was happening here, reading between the lines, is that Ruben Amorim was trying to reverse the narrative that we obviously, because we've weakened our hand with these players, right? Because everybody knows we want to sell them. And I think Ruben Amorim's doing his job to try and reverse that a little bit by saying, look, no, we gave them space so that they can find moves. But if it reached the point where, they haven't found an exit, then they will join the team, or join the first team. He also said that Omar Barada and Jason Wilcott have a number for these players. If that isn't reached, they will be United players. I am ready to receive the players. I have more options. And if they have to fight each other to play, then it's perfect. So he's also saying we're not going to be mugged off for these players. Barada and Jason Wilcott have a value for the players that we've got. And if that's not reached, then because they're United players, he's happy to receive them back. But if he receives them back, they're going to have to fight for their place in the team, which I absolutely love as well from Ruben Amorim. And then the final point that I thought he made on it as well, which was really, really interesting, was I understand maybe other clubs are waiting for the last minute, but they can have a surprise. I am ready to receive the players. They have more competition. If they want to play in the World Cup next year, then they need to play. So I'm happy with that. I have more options, and if they have to fight each other to play, then that's perfect. So Ruben Amorim, I think, doing a really good job there at one. Kind of trying to reverse the narrative, although most people will see through that as if to say, well, I still think they're bluffing, but putting more pressure back on these players as well, because we've got players that are refusing moves to clubs because they're holding out for certain teams, like Antony and Real Betis, for example. And Real Betis are going to wait till the end of the transfer window and do a loan deal. And I hope United stand firm on this. And if that doesn't materialise, then we just don't bother loaning Antony out. I know it will suck, and I know we need exits to sign players, but the reality is being bent over and you know, being manipulated like this in the transfer, it has to end at some point in time. We have to make a hardline stance, and I think this is the good time, because we've got players that we can use as examples for that as well. And if Antony wants to wait until the end, I would not be sanctioning a loan to Real Betis. I would say, right, okay, well, that's it. You can stay. You're part of the first team squad, but you're not going to play because you're not going to be, you know, you're going to have to compete now with Mbeumo, Cunha, Mason Mount, Ahmad. You know, you've got all these players in front of you in your position now, so you're not really going to play. It's a World Cup year, so it's entirely up to you. They get a move, a permanent move for the price that we want, or you're just not going to play this season, and it's entirely up to you. And the same with Garnacho as well, because Garnacho wants to obviously play for the World Cup with Argentina, and it's exactly the same with him, because he's refusing deals from overseas as well, holding out to go to a Premier League club, potentially Aston Villa or Chelsea, the two teams that are heavily linked with him. I think he's waiting for Chelsea personally, because there are reports he wants Champions League football as well. And it puts the pressure back on the players as well. And I like that from Ruben Amorim. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now, on Garnacho, on the exit, so there is a sense that some players want to wait until the final stages of the transfer window, hoping their market value will decrease amid the pressures Man United may face to complete deals. There is a belief that Garnacho is prepared to wait and see what happens later, hoping his value will drop. However, his desire to play for Argentina in the World Cup remains a priority. So that came from Laurie Whitwell, and that's what I think Amorim's referring to. We are not going to be held a ransom for these players, because again, Garnacho doesn't find a move. Okay, yep, you're back within the squad. You can play in the 21s. For example, Ruben Amorim might be well within his rights to do that, because he doesn't have a divine right to be in the first team. And if he is in the first team, again, the same as Antony, he's competing now behind Cunha and Mbeumo and all the other forwards that we've got in that area. And as we know, Ruben Amorim told him that he better find a new club last season as well. So again, this is what I think he's putting the pressure back on the players to get their moves for the right value, so we don't get mugged off. Whether it works or not, we'll obviously have to wait and see. But I thought it was quite a smart thing for Amorim to do, to try to reverse that narrative, but also put the pressure back on these players, because obviously we don't want them. I'm sure Amorim doesn't actually want them back in the first team squad, but also we know we need the money to move on in the transfer market as well. So it's incredibly frustrating. But I think he's doing all he can there, Amorim, in my opinion. Keeping with Garnacho, Manchester United aim to sell Garnacho by early August to fund a new striker signing for Ruben Amorim. So Gimme Sport is saying that we're trying to sell Garnacho maybe in the next couple of weeks, maybe before the players come back from tour. Maybe there's been some sort of deadline where the club have told the players, right, you've got until this time to find a new club. Otherwise, you're back in the first team squad. Who knows? But yeah, I do think it's the right thing to do. Put pressure on the players to find their moves and stop being so fussy or waiting to try and get, you know, waiting for clubs so that they can mug us off in their valuations and stuff as well. But again, we'll wait and see whether it works or not. Now, the other player mentioned there is Antony. So Botafogo inquired about the situation of Antony from Manchester United. However, the player thanked the Rio club's interest and said he does not wish to return to Brazil at this time. That came from a South American report. Obviously, Botafogo, John Victor plays there as well. Could we have done some sort of shenanigans with that? But you know, he doesn't want to go back to Brazil by all accounts. But one place he actually might be willing to go is the Saudi Pro League. So this were comments from Antony's agent via a Saudi Arabian news outlet with a large following that's apparently fairly decent as well. But it doesn't really matter whether they're credible or not. This is direct quotes from Antony's agent, saying, what I can say is that the player is on the market and there are several clubs who want to know his current situation. We listen to the projects and analyse them, but he is open to moving to Saudi Arabia, but there is a possibility that the player will continue with Manchester. Everything is possible. We are looking for what is best for him. So we had the report yesterday from Sky Sports saying that Saudi Arabian clubs might be interested in Antony, but we didn't know at that stage whether Antony would be willing to go to the Saudi Pro League. But according to his agent himself, the answer is yes, they would be open to moving to Saudi Arabia. That would be a good thing for us as well, because obviously they're going to be able to pay the asking price, and be a good move for Antony as well if he wants the wages, because they'll be able to pay his wages as well, and he won't have to take a pay cut. And then we won't have to wait for Real Betis as well. So it's interesting that seems to have been a shift, whether it's because of Amorim's comments or whether Antony's just come to the conclusion that Real Betis are not going to go for him now. Who knows? But it's interesting directly from his agent saying that they would be interested in the Saudi Pro League. So we'll need to keep an eye on that one. Sam C also said that Antony is open to a move to Saudi Arabia as well. And Sam C is quite decent as well with transfer rumours and stuff. So that could be one to pay attention to. And if we can get some movement on, like if we can get a bit more money actually for Antony, that would be huge for us as well in this transfer window. But also his wages gives us loads more wiggle rooms as well. So, but the main one is Garnacho. Garnacho's the profit. He's the profit maker for this transfer window. So if we can get Garnacho, get some money for Garnacho, then, you know, it does put us in a position where maybe we can go and spend more money on go and get a striker at least anyway. And then if you do get someone like Antony and you make a few £1 million, because we're not going to get, you know, anywhere near our money back for him, but we might write off his book value and get his wages off, which might then give us some wiggle room to go for like Senny Lemens, for example. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out, but we do need to get a budge on with the exits. But that's why I like Amorim's comments, putting the pressure back on the players. Say, look, the ball's in your court. You're either back in the squad and I'm happy to receive you, but you know, don't forget you're going to be competing with all these people that actually want to be here, and that, you know, and it's the World Cup year, so up to you. It's entirely on you what you want to do as well. And I like that from Ruben Amorim. And then the other exile player, Jadon Sancho. So Juventus are edging closer to securing a deal this summer for Jadon Sancho. The 25-year-old returned to Old Trafford after Chelsea rejected the chance to sign him permanently following a loan spell. The negotiations with the Juventus are active, but Italian outlet Corriere dello Sport claim it is not easy. They wrote, one intermediary hired by Manchester United has emerged in the city. Matthew Koning, a transfer operator who, along with the player's large team, is handling one of the most complex transfers of the summer. While waiting for a breakthrough, Juventus ironed out the details with Sancho, reaching an agreement with the winger on a contract worth €6 million net, plus bonuses until 2030. So that came from the Manchester Evening News, but obviously the report came from Corriere dello Sport, suggesting that United have hired intermediaries. And we've heard that as well around... was it from Samuel Lucas the other day saying that they've hired some intermediaries to try and remove Casemiro as well, but we haven't been able to obviously do that so far this transfer window. Suggesting that we've hired maybe people to try and get moves, transfer experts as well, which I'm all for. If they can help get players gone and bring players in, then I'm all cool for that. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. The only thing I would say is I don't trust Italian media when it comes to this, because like I said before, David Ornstein said, I don't know what anyone's talking about when it comes to Sancho and Juventus. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But it's good if they have agreed personal terms. The feeling is, though, that Juventus want to sell players. They want to sell a winger in order to get the money to then go for Sancho. So that might be one that we're dependent on, obviously, exits from Juventus. But yeah, could be some movement on there, but we'll wait and see, because we've been saying Sancho like all transfer window pretty much, and nothing's really gone any further, but we'll keep an eye on it for you. Give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. So let's go for the incoming news. So Ben Jacobs on Ollie Watkins said that Manchester United made contact with Aston Villa, and that was sourced from all sides at my end. Aston Villa don't want to lose Ollie Watkins. They certainly won't entertain any kind of significant talks unless they find a replacement or unless someone meets their valuation, which is £60 million. Manchester United won't meet that valuation. So Ben Jacobs confirming that we have made contact with Aston Villa from both sides as well. So he said that that's been confirmed from Villa and United side as well. But we're in the same position where it's either £60 million and they'll entertain it. And I don't think United are going to go for £60 million. And we don't have the £60 million, even if we were willing to pay that for Ollie Watkins anyway. But also they'd need to find a replacement as well. So again, but we'll need to keep an eye on the Garnacho situation here, because if Villa do want Garnacho, maybe there is something that we can do regarding that, regarding Garnacho and then Ollie Watkins as well. But we'll need to see how it all plays out. Now, keeping with Aston Villa, so Manchester United are in formal negotiations to sign Emiliano Martínez. Aston Villa rejected the first loan proposal. Martinez is the chosen one by Ruben Amorim. Now, that came from another South American journalist or an Argentinian journalist. Apparently, they're a tier 1 Argentine journalist. I have no idea. Reposted by some aggregator sites, but it's again more South American journalists linking Martinez to United, and the reality is we've made a loan offer for Martinez. I think that's been confirmed, but we don't have the money to buy him. And if, are we really going to get Martinez, who's on 200 grand a week, and have Onana at the club still as well? Like that's a massive mistake, I think, for us to be paying 2 goalkeepers £150,000 a week plus. Like, that just makes no sense to me. I think the only way we would get Martinez if Onana goes, and at the moment there's no reports that Onana is going anywhere. It's more likely we're going to be looking at someone like Sané Lemens, I think, because again, it's more coming from the South American side, not from from the Manchester side. I mean, there's no one coming out like a Laurie Whitwell or someone of that nature coming out suggesting that there's anything here. But we'll keep an eye on it and we'll see how it plays out. He's definitely on the list, I think, of goalkeepers. We know that, but it's whether I don't think we'll have the money, and I don't think we'll want to pay the wages without removing Onana either as well, which is what it is. Now, another goalkeeper that we've been linked with again, he's up there with, bullshit transfer story of the window so far, but Donnarumma. So Manchester United want to replace Andre Onana with a top keeper this summer, and Gianluigi Donnarumma is one of the top names on Manchester United's shortlist. Interestingly, though, this came from Court of Side. Court of Side have got some credible journalists that write for them and some not so credible journalists. This came from one of their not so credible journalists, in my opinion. Interestingly, though, they were saying that PSG have been negotiating with him for over a year on a new contract. Donnarumma earned €7 million net salary plus 3 million in bonuses, but the club's offer didn't satisfy him. He has decided not to renew his deal, and with only 1 year left on his contract, PSG has decided to sell him this summer. I would want to wait and see a bit more credibility, because I thought the reports, if you have been subscribing and you've watched previous videos, the reports at the start of the transfer window around Donnarumma did feel a little bit like agent talk, where they were trying to get him a new contract, and then lo and behold, that's exactly what happened, because the reports were coming out afterwards saying that they're in contract negotiations with PSG over a new contract. Interesting if he's rejected it, but again, it's the same situation. We're not going to get Donnarumma unless we sell Onana, and we can't sell Onana if no one wants to buy him. So, we're in the same position. Like, it's I know it's frustrating. I want a replacement goalkeeper as well, but ultimately, what can we do? No one's buying Onana. No one's making bids for Onana. What can we do? We can't really do much else. It's really frustrating, because we can't, we need the money in from Onana in order to get the goalkeeper. And if Onana's not going anywhere, then, we are where we are. That's why I do think someone like Sané Lemens seems more viable at this moment in time, but we'll pay attention to it. I'd want to see way more credibility, though, than where the story came from, but food for thought, because if he has rejected a contract from PSG, it's an interesting shout, because he'll only have a year left on his contract. So, maybe that does become viable. But I'd want to see way more credibility, though, personally. But give us your shouts on that in the comments below, as I'm sure you will. And the final story is regarding Morten Hjulmand. Manchester United continue to be interested in Morten Hjulmand, who is one of the main targets for midfield. Hjulmand has a release clause reportedly worth £69 million, which Sporting are unwilling to negotiate down from. Now, that came from The Sun, so, firstly, we need to instantly take it with a pinch of salt, because it's come from The Sun, and they're not very credible. But then also, I don't know where we're going to find £69 million if Sporting aren't going to lower that asking price for his release clause as well for Morten Hjulmand. I'd rather, save up that money and maybe go for Belieber or someone like that from Brighton, or Adam Wharton might be available next summer as well. Keep the money and go for one of those two, then blowing it on Morten Hjulmand, and then still potentially be in a position next summer where we would maybe still want to bring in a midfielder. That's a big amount of money, unless you don't get a striker, and then maybe it becomes an option. But I don't think, going back to the original comments, Amorim's like, we can't afford to take any risks. And I know he knows Hjulmand, but Hjulmand's never played in the Premier League before as well, and that is a massive unknown and a massive question mark. So I can't see that being a viable option. plus the fact it came from the sun. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.